Welcome everybody to our each one teach one session. So today's our topic is transaction control and state country or territory pick lists. So first let's see if this is for us or not. Yes, definitely state country pick list is for everybody and transaction control is a must for developers. Let's first see what is a transaction control. Transaction control is the ability to manage various transactions that may occur within a database. Why do we need this transaction control? What exactly is a transaction? Transaction basically is the DML operations that we perform, which are insert, update, and delete. So why transaction control? To ensure a transaction is executed and completed successfully, instead of making the changes to the target table immediately. Like let's take a scenario where this really helps us in having a transaction control system in our code. Let's take a very general scenario. So Roshan every month he credits our salaries to our account. Let's say for this month November also he has credited, and from his end he has done this salary generation, and he did the amount also transferred to our accounts. But surprisingly, you're not like you wake up and you check your mobile and you don't find the amount credited in your account. So now, to whom do you go? To Roshan or to the bank? Whose fault is it? Definitely not Roshan's fault, right? Because the amount has got debited from his account. So now the fault also is not bank's. It's about the functionality that we have developed there. To keep this proper, I mean, to not let this happen to any user, never. We can have this transaction controlled. So how can we do that? It can be done by setting save points wherever you feel like, at any state that you feel like. Maybe you want to save your database at some state. Like let's say after the amount has got debited, you can save it. Or before the amount has got debited also, you can set a save point. And also and maybe after performing all the DML operations which are not really dependent on this particular transferring amount, then also you can set a save point. This way we can set save points. Now that we have set our save points, do you really think we are good enough? Like we have really managed a transaction well controlled? Still not, right? Because we only have set the states, but we're not reversing it back to that particular state where we have set, right? So to do that, we have this method rollback. So using this set save point and rollback, we can set the save points at a particular state, and then we can roll back to the state wherever we want our database to be in case of any transaction has got failure. Let's quickly go through a demo here. Let's say I want to create an account first and then a contact associated with this recently created account. What are the steps involved here? First, I may need to insert the account and then insert a contact associated with this account. These are the two steps that are involved here. Let's have our code accordingly. Let's say I'm now inserting an account. I'm inserting this account now. And now, post this, I'm inserting a contact which is associated with this account. So here, last name, then account ID, which lets us associate both. Do you want me to make my screen a little bigger, zoomed in? Is this
Fine.
We can see it. We can see
Yeah.
it.
okay?
It's fine.
Okay. So now, if I execute this code, account gets inserted and a contact with this account associated will get inserted. Let's say there is a failure here at this point. Transaction has got failed. So what can be, I mean, like, what happens if a transaction gets failed here? There will be your account inserted, but the contact is not associated still. So if the contact is not associated with this account, there is no point of having this account, right? So let's say, okay, we are still having it. We are still having this account. And what does the user need to do? Again, he might need to go back to his screen and then fill in all the account information. And then again, the contact associated with this account. It's an unnecessary waste of time for him, as well as too much data in our database, which is, I mean, like, both the reasons are not really that fair enough for anyone. It's not helping any of us. So to avoid this, what can be done is, let's say, in case there's a transaction failure here at this point, I want to roll back this to the previous state. Previous state as in, like, should I roll it back to this point, or should I roll it back to this point? Anyone?
Just before 3.
Okay, here. Exactly. We can have it here. Or we can also have it here in this first line.
We can have it in line number 1 also, yes.
Anywhere we can have it. So now, let's say I'm having my save point here. And in case of any failure, I'm rolling this back to this save point. To make sure that it has successfully created, the account, let's have this debug statement here. And another one here. Now, when I execute this code, account should have got inserted, and the contact also gets inserted, but we have rolled back after inserting the contact, and that is why, and you will also be not able to see any account here. Let's say, sorry. Let's check the recently created ones. So if you see, there is no account created. So that's a very short demo about transaction control. And by the way, yes, there's just one more point. Let's say now, like, I have rolled back to this particular save point. So does it mean the ID of this record which I have inserted recently, does it get does it get cleared, or will it stay back still in that variable? It will never get cleared. Record ID still stays there, but the record won't exist. So our next topic is state and country or territory pick lists. So this is something that we have implemented in our TGD project. So I thought maybe this is a very short one, but this can really make a big difference to anyone out there. Yeah, there was this scenario where there are orders with different country codes and different state codes. So how do we even track it, and how can we track, like, for United States, some user can enter US and some users can enter USA, and anything that they want they can enter, but maintaining this data integrity throughout would be very difficult if we have to code for everything, right? So there is this a very simple configuration thing in Salesforce to do all of this. So yeah, as I mentioned, it protects data integrity, and it lets the user select states, countries from predefined lists. We will have predefined lists of states and countries and territories. These can be used in all the places, like billing addresses, mailing address, shipping address, and all the address type of fields in the Salesforce. We can view them anywhere in all these record pages and editing details. while creating new records and in reports, dashboards, and filters, functions, and everywhere. Let's have a short demo on that. Let's go through this. So from setup, we need to go to this state and country territory pick list. I have it currently enabled in my org. For the in the new orgs, it will be disabled, and to enable it, we'll have to follow this four steps, the first four steps. So in the first step, what we do is we configure states, countries, and territories. So first, let me show by disabling this. Yeah. Now, if we look at this address fields over here, where do we have? Yeah, here. So we'll have to manually type in the text here. Like if it is Andhra Pradesh, I need to type in this data. But enabling the state country pick list, you don't need to do that. It will give you a pick list value there. So to enable it, first we'll have to configure the states, countries, and territories here. So how we do this is, we'll go here and we can have a default country. We can select all those countries that we want. We can make them visible accordingly and save this. So for the default country or territory, it will show us all the countries that are visible. Oh, is it because of this? Yeah. Now it will give us the list of all the countries to make a particular one the default value. And to add or edit a particular state label, we can go into the particular country over there, and we can add states over here. We can add states or we can configure the existing states. Let's say there is some test state. For this test state, I'm giving this code. It is active and also visible. Now we have successfully created a state for this UAE. So after having the countries that we want in the org and after setting up the states to those countries, we'll go back to the second point where we'll have to scan the org for state and country data. So when we scan, what happens is any codes or any data that is present in this address fields will be visible for you here to match with those labels. I mean, the codes and the labels, we can map those. So the scanning is done, and now we'll convert the identified data. So these are all the values that I have in my address fields currently. So for Canada, I'm selecting this country. And for Canada, what is the country label that I want to have? This is my code and this is my label. We'll add it to the change list here. And similarly, for France also, we'll have to set this for all the identified data. We cannot skip anything. If we are skipping, we won't get an option to set the state codes there. So let's say for US and USA, it is United States. Then for Japan, where is it? Yeah, here, okay. For for India also I've done. And for any value that is not known, we'll have this unknown value here at the top. So we can just have it there. So now that we have set up all the countries and codes, we'll go to the next step where we'll have to set up all these states. So can I do it or do we go in overtime? Okay, I'll do it quickly.
You can show for one country maybe.
Okay, for California. Okay, we'll see for United States. I mean USA. Maybe we can have this Canada as well. One.
So basically, these are the steps that we will be taking once the data is already there on Salesforce.
Yes, once the data is already there. I mean, like only then we'll get all these values. So we'll have to configure maybe when there is new data, we'll have to maybe scan the org and configure these every time. Okay, for now I'm making all of these as unknown values because unless I complete this, we can't go to the next step.
So now are you trying to do the states as dependent for that countries?
No.
That happens by default. So we have all those country codes and state codes done, and we are good to enable the pick list for address fields. So when
It's
we
nothing related to dependency, right, Sushma?
no,
It's
this
more on abbreviations and how you want to see those as
yeah, I mean,
fields.
what we are actually doing here is just setting up the, I mean, like mapping the values to the actual labels that we want to see. But behind the scenes, what happens is they become dependent. State and country fields, they become dependent. They act dependent.
Oh, is it like not you're manually making them dependent, right?
No, I'm not doing anything manually here. It happens by default. So now, if you see this became a pick list over here, and earlier there was US for this country, and it automatically picked the label. Based on this country value, the states under that will be visible for us. All those states that we have set up in our first step. You remember, like we created for UAE test state. So when you see this, there will be only the test state. All the states will be visible, but when we enter data, like let's say from an external source, we are entering these states and countries, and there we have different kinds of codes. Like there is a TS, someone has given T, someone has given TT. Uh, and now I have scanned my org and I could see only TS. Later, when there is new data entered into my system, there can be some other codes. So every time there is a new data that enters into the system, we might need to scan and then configure those. That's how the state and country pick lists work. Any questions? Anything
So that's still a manual effort that we're putting in, right? So once the new
Uh,
data is coming in, we are doing that configuration.
Yes, but at least we are not making the code level changes here, no? Like it saves most of our time, and we don't need to every time go to the code and make all these changes. Like there is this TS. I want to make it test, and later in my new data there is TT, and I want to again come back and give it test. Like I will have to add that condition in my code. So this dependency can be reduced. We can simply configure that.
Can we use this in LWC?
Yes, in LWC also. So we tried this as well. In LWC also we can use this. We'll have to. So the fields that I mean, like how to access the state and country pick list is in our records. uh, the field names are state code and the country code. So when we have to access this particular fields, we'll have to use the user dot state code for getting the state and user dot country code for getting the country value there.
Okay.
We can implement that in LWC as well, yes. So these are our next steps. We'll document it for a blog, video, or for our grandchildren. And this is the last slide. So to stay and keep learning. Thank you. Thank you for your time.